How's it going, man? Tomorrow here. I want to thank y'all for coming through. DC just sent an email about this particular post that I watched live actually on the show whenever it did go down on TYT. So that way you can understand how people who don't take a side or people who think they're conservative, it's nothing but tokenism, and they don't bring any type of substance to the table. And it's going to be no different in this situation right here. I seen this thing live, and it was horrific what this dude did to this other guy. But this is why they have to go back to, the Second Amendment, liberal this, liberal that, can't point out any type of policies or structure, black women, LGBT, all these other things that don't mean anything. So what I'm going to do is show you why you don't have conversations with everybody about everything. Because in these conservative circles, like they let Candace Owens just run her mouth without no type of pushback, the guy doesn't realize that when you're in these circles, you run your mouth, they tolerate your presence. They really are not interested in what you have to say. They're just interested in how you look while you're talking about what you're actually looking like. And so since there's this notion that there are no people who are LGBT on the right, it's perfect that this guy is gay, black, veteran. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this video here, and we're going to get a reaction after it's done. So that way you can see the Manosphere kind of debate structure and talking points here. So that way you can see whether people cover these things on a daily basis or they're just trying to halfway cover it, so that way they can just connect it right back to the culture war itself around those issues that I just named. So hold on a second. This is from Young Turks. We'll put the link in the description box. They're not really known for flagging people's channels for using their stuff, so I'm still going to credit them with it. And hold on a second while I put this in the actual description box. Hold on a second while I do that. Because you got to be able to know the difference between debate tactics and not having debate tactics, and being confident on the issue versus not being confident on the issue. Because it's pretty clear how one side argues things. This is why they're stuck talking about Black Lives Matter and other types of nonsense, rather than knowing what the issues are and actually completing the actual issues itself. So hold on a second. This credit to the Young Turks for creating this work. Boom. All right, cited in the actual video itself. So you have to forget about, I know it's left versus right, but you have to look at the difference between someone who's prepared to have a conversation and someone who's not prepared to have a conversation, but wanted to have the conversation anyway. That's what this is about. So while we're getting that ready, 27 watching, 12 likes. Did y'all get the likes up, please, before I start this right here? Again, DC just sent this out to everybody. So. All right. This is all right. Got the video up, so now I'm about to start it. Boom. Okay. So that way. Again, forget about left and right. Look at who's prepared to come to the conversation and talk about the actual issues and who's not. So share screen. This right here.
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have him here. Rob Smith is problematic, the host of the podcast. Do we have Rob Smith?
You got me.
Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. First of all, let me say thank you for your service. You are a decorated military veteran. I thank you for your service.
Yes.
Let's talk about this headline, right? And you know I'm not making this up, right? Fox News had this big headline about you, and it said, Rob Smith says he is America's favorite Black, gay, veteran, millennial, conservative Republican. Now, obviously, there are some ideological differences with those various groups, which makes it really stand out. What I want to ask you about first thing I want to talk to you about is the notion that somehow Black people who vote for Democrats or progressives are on a plantation. And in order for them not to be on that plantation, they must vote for a Republican. Now, that has been, now you didn't say those words, but that has been a sentiment about independent thinking of Black people. What's your thought process as it relates to Black people choosing political leaders?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the plantation talk, I personally don't talk in the plantation speak. And so generally when I'm going on to things like this, I just need to be judged based on what I have said, right? Mm-hmm. So I've never said that Black people who don't vote for Democrats are on some sort of Democrat plantation. Now, what I think that goes into, and what some people who do speak in the language have said, is the idea that for, at least the past 30, 40 years, we have been voting as Black Americans, as African Americans, upwards of 90% for Democrats. And I think that that's what it gets into. What it gets into is there is no other minority group of people that votes for Democrats in the way that African Americans do. Not Latino Americans, not Asian Americans, not gays and lesbians, of which myself, obviously I'm gay. So there's no other group that votes for Democrats in the way and in the numbers that African Americans do. And so that was the conversation. There's a lot of people that are talking about why. And I think that the reason why that Democrats vote, that Blacks vote in such high numbers for Democrats, it's a lot of different reasons. But first of all, I like to think, or at least I kind of blame the mainstream media for this. Our culture as Black Americans is so overwhelmingly Democrat, right? So we've got our entertainers, our celebrities, we've got politician celebrities, we've got people. Every message that we get from an African American that is in the public visible space in some way is a message of leftism, of liberal policies, or voting for Democrats. And I think that is one of the major issues that I am trying to break through as somebody that kind of came out as this Black gay guy who's voting Republican, who believes in some sort of conservative ideologies. So I think that is there. And what we have to ask ourselves, and I would like to ask you, why do you think that Black people vote so heavily for Democrats?
Yeah, man, I know why. And it's not what you said. Let me tell you why Black people vote heavily for Democrats. I'm going to give you some facts. So I'm a professor. I believe in data, statistics, facts. I believe in science. Okay. Yeah. Under Democratic presidents, and this is a 48-year calculation. Under Democratic presidents, Black families' incomes grew on average about $1,000 annually, but only grew $142 annually under Republican presidents. The Black unemployment rate fell by a net of 8% under Democratic presidents, but went up 14% under Republican presidents. Across the years of Democratic leadership, Black poverty declined under Democratic presidents by a net of 23.6%, but increased by 3% when Republicans held the White House. Now,
I want to ask you a question about those facts. I didn't want to ask you a question about those facts.
Hold on, Rob. You can ask me a question when I finish. Anyone can check me out at scholars.org, which culminates all of this data, nonpartisan, non-political organization, and all they do is straight data analytics. But go ahead, Rob.
Well, I wanted to ask you, so what of those statistics are tied into Democratic policies, right? So you can say that there are Black people. So basically, the point that you're making is Black people just do better under Democrat presidents. So that's the point behind all of that.
That's one issue. You asked me another question: what actual policies are connected to this cause and effect reality of economics and black people. I can tell you the policies because I've researched that as well. One of the policies is the Department of Justice's aggression or aggressive prosecution of workplace discrimination. It actually led to more black people having similar income as their white counterparts. That was a direct cause and effect analysis of this study. Another cause and effect analysis.
So what you're saying? Well, hold on, because you just give me a lot of facts. So what you're saying is because
don't let facts get in the way of the story.
We're not letting in the way of the story. There's just I can spit out a lot of statistics to you. I can say
I'm not spitting out statistics. I'm giving you the reality of the statistics of why black people vote Democrats, because black people generally do better under Democrats than under Republicans. The question is, Rob, why would black people vote for Republicans if they lose economically when a Republican is in the White House? That's the real question.
Well, the question is, so we're just getting out of the last 4 years of Republican administration, and this is pre-pandemic. Because God knows that the pandemic has really messed up.
I'm not even using the pandemic. You're right. I would not use the pandemic.
So even outside of the pandemic, were African Americans not doing well under the Trump administration? Because the thing about it is that when I'm talking to like liberals about all this stuff, you can give me all the facts and data and statistics in the world historically, like that's fine. And I think that a lot of this historical stuff is very relevant, and that leads into the ideas of why African Americans will vote for Democrats, because they say, oh, Democrats help us and all this other stuff. But when you just take into consideration what has happened with, the black unemployment rate going down, and all of this stuff, when you take into consideration opportunity zones, when you take into consideration that even at this point right now, and this is about 6 weeks into the Biden administration, right? But this is holistic over the last 4 years. We have more black entrepreneurs. We have more black millionaires. We have more of this stuff that is going on at this point now than at any point of American history, right? So these facts and data statistics that you are giving me would tell me that African Americans have gotten to a certain point where it's not necessarily we need to be waiting on politicians or whatever to do all of these things that you have said, where we need to start building things up ourselves, and we are being given.
So let's talk about that, Rob. Rob, I only got 20 minutes with you, brother, to be fair. So let's talk about that. What is policy? Policy is a social contract between the community and the government. That's what policy is. So when you talk about politicians doing stuff for people, it's not politicians doing stuff for people. Number one, that's my money. That's our money. Politicians don't make revenue. Politicians get paid on tax dollars of people who work and pay into the taxation system. So when we talk about them doing things, they're doing things because we pay them to do things. We pay them to have policies that create fairness and equity within the marketplace. So let's be very clear about some of those policies. For example, you have record graduation rates from high school and colleges under Democratic presidents. Now, you may think there's no cause and effect, and there is a cause and effect because of the priority in the budget, where the money goes. I'm going to give you an example of the last administration, President Donald Trump. I'll give you an example. He came out and said he was going to do all these favors for HBCUs. And I have to admit, Brother Rob, President Obama was no friend of HBCUs. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm a graduate of an HBCU. President Obama did not move the needle. He kept it basically the same. Trump comes in and he says, hey, I'm going to do something massive. I'm going to do it more than anybody else. And then he actually takes money away from HBCUs. You know how he did it? He did it through what's called the Federal TRIO program. He presented a budget that defunded the Federal TRIO program. The reason why a lot of people didn't catch this, Rob, is because the Federal TRIO program is actually Upward Bound. I know you're familiar with Upward Bound. Mm-hmm. And Educational Talent Search. He defunded those programs, which are lifelines for HBCUs and first-generational college students in depressed communities. Also, when you talk about opportunity zones, you brought up opportunity zones.
Yeah.
Who does the opportunity benefit? When you say opportunity zone, it's not an opportunity for the poor person living in the community. It's an opportunity for an investor to have a tax abatement to come in and invest in that community.
But then again, you have to say that if it's an opportunity for an investor to come in and invest in the community, what happens when the investors come in and invest in the community? Obviously, more jobs are created, more people start spending money, it becomes a better community, and then it attracts other people. So now let me go back to this. No.
Let me respond to that, Rob.
But I have to go back. You're speaking at me for a very long time, and I have to get these points.
That's fine, Rob. Brother, you're going to have time. If I was on your podcast, I would respect it. You're going to have time to respond. Now, you You just brought up opportunity zones. Let's be very clear. Opportunity zones, yes, they attract investors. But what do investors do? They come in, they artificially increase that local industry, and all property taxes increase as well. That means Mama them, who has owned their property for 20 years, they now have to pay a higher property tax that they could not afford. Now you have to have a higher credit rating just to live in that local community. That contributes to excessive gentrification. That's how people get moved out of communities.
There's a lot of, I know that you're a PhD. I know that there's a lot of buzzwords and all this stuff. And
brother, this is true.
And you know,
you got a master's degree from Columbia. You're an educated brother.
So it's truth and facts based on what the narrative you're pushing. That's fine. So let's go back to
no, brother.
The HBCU. I want to talk about the HBCU.
That's when this conversation should have been over. But it's going to go on for like a hell of a lot longer time. But this is what it's like talking to people in the Manosphere. One side comes to here, knows things about the policies and the thing that deals with the process, and the other person is just trying to derail the conversation. So now you have to, everything that comes out of their mouth, you have to clean up their side of the argument and have the conversation from your side of the argument. It's crazy. What's going on, Renaissance, man?
Hey, what's up, MOT?
Yeah, and this is what happens. It's kind of like, you know, David Monroe and like Trader NBD does this a lot. They have no idea what they're talking about. You come here with all the factual information, and then they just start trying to pick apart the things that they don't understand. Now you have to have the conversation by correcting everything that comes out of their mouth and still holding up your side of the argument. The only thing you're doing is arguing both sides of the point because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. You notice he said when he started presenting facts, talking about gentrification and higher property tax, he goes, "Oh, well, there are all these buzzwords."
He looked extremely bored. He looked extremely bored, and I wanted to pause it at that moment because he's like, you bring all these facts and stuff to the table, and he tried to like dismiss all the factual information. And it's like
he talked about he's like, you bring all these facts like that's a bad thing. Like, what are you supposed to bring to a debate? Feelings and emotion.
Yeah, and look at him. This is a LGBT conservative who sound just like most conservatives in this space with the same talking points in this space.
Here's how he got famous. So Vox did a thing a while back, like a couple years ago, on black conservatives versus black liberals, and he was one who talked about he voted for Obama and then he voted for Trump. I think he's ex-military, and I think he's got a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's how he got big.
Yeah. Being a conservative, not based on policy, because he didn't talk about policy yet. So we're going to continue this. But I wanted to stop at the point where he tried to laugh off as if factual information and actual data doesn't mean anything. And then the way he cited it, this dude had to keep interrupting him to clean up everything that he says. So I'm going to keep going with this.
Because one of the things that I kind of argue against right now, you have a PhD, I have a master's degree, that's fine. So you have this idea that sort of, more funding for HBCUs. And look, granted, this was a good thing that Trump did. I know that was a good thing, the permanently funding the HBCUs and all that. But I want to get to the idea because sometimes everything isn't about policy and stuff all the time. Things are about culture that is related to policy. So we have.
You see what he just did? He just took policy off the table and tried to put culture ahead of policy. So now he's trying to argue from a cultural standpoint versus a policy type standpoint. And this is what all conservatives do, because if you look at the policies, this is why they don't go over the Republican plan at all whenever they do one. Because if you go over the conservative plan, it's pretty much stuff for large corporations and nothing for people. It's not hard. Like, dude, it's really not hard. So let me keep going here. Go ahead.
I was going to quickly add, too, like, you see that even with mainstream conservatives. Like, when they stand up and start talking about things, they start talking philosophically. They start talking about the role of government, and government shouldn't be telling you to do this, and people should have their own stuff, but they don't talk about policy. That's how they get around it, is they start talking about all these narratives and stories to appeal to people's emotions.
Yeah, and this is what they do. It's kind of like why court cases have to go on so long, because they're not trying to make factual arguments. They're trying to make emotional appeals to the actual jury, and that stuff shouldn't even be allowed. But that's how people most likely win most of their cases, is from the emotional standpoint. So while they try to make it look like it's one side being the actual, yeah, they should ban cigarettes. I mean, they cause cancer. They cause a hell of a lot of other stuff. Yeah, it's a product that shouldn't even be sold, period.
A lot of African Americans in this country that have gone to HBCUs that are going and getting degrees that are not worth the paper that they're printed on. And not only that, but these are first generation students that are taking out tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans to get these degrees. And one of the issues that I have with Democrat policies, and one of the issues that I have with the left's stance on education in the first place, in the education the way that you and I are educated, is that it made it seem like these kids are not anything without that degree. It leads people to go take out, and when you talk about federal taxpayer funding for HBCUs, that's fine. These kids are taking out government loans that will always have to be paid back no matter what. And these government loans will always have to be paid back. They cannot get out of them even if they declare bankruptcy. So one of the cultural issues that I'm talking about that people need to start talking about, and especially that we need to start talking about as Black people, is we need to get away from this idea that you are nothing without this college degree. I think that these degrees are sending people into massive amounts of debt. This is bad.
Okay. Now, with this particular point he's on, he's right. I agree with him. If you, and this is a policy you can come up with. If your degree program at a school isn't connected to a tangible job, the federal government just isn't going to fund that education process.
But here's the thing, MOT. I guarantee you he'd be against forgiving student loans after all that rant he just went on.
We're getting to that. We're getting to that. He's going to talk about that. And he's going to misstate the intentions of that as well. But it's like this. Look, I know most of these degrees in these schools are a waste of money. Everybody knows that. But there's one side who wants to invest in the people and one side who clearly doesn't. He's on the side that clearly doesn't.
I would push back even on that. I mean, I'd say when you think about it, the number of degrees that are just truly worthless, I'd say those are fewer. I'd say you got more tangible degrees where you can get a job.
Yeah, but a lot of these people go to school for stuff that's easy, so that way they can just have the degree just to have one.
Okay.
Not connected to jobs. Like all these sociologists and communication and psychology, if you're not going to be in the actual that field, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
But here's the other thing too. Like we were discussing yesterday, you don't hear this discussion of changing this narrative of people not going to college. You don't hear that in, like I said, the Asian community, the East Indian community, Jewish community. They're not on that stuff. They're on, hey, go and get a profession, and they're pushing their kids there. Like I said, we're the only ones having this discussion of should people be going to college.
Yeah, I mean, because when you can't formulate, families, then all of a sudden you're going to have a breakdown of all other things that's not going to go right either. So let's keep continuing to play this.
Bad policy that's leading these people to take out these loans, mind you. So I think that is a conversation that we need to have.
Rob,
I understand.
Let's have that conversation, because I agree with you 100%. As a matter of fact, if you check my resume, you will find that 3 months ago, I contributed $100,000 through the Rashadrichey Scholarship to a technical training program in Atlanta, Georgia. And I did that because, one, I believe K through 12 education should bring back vocational training. I need high school graduates to know how to do stuff. I need them to know how to work on the car, to do electrical, to do carpentry, to do shop, etc. Right? So I believe that. I'm with you 100% on that. But when we talk about collegiate education, that's not a conversation just about college degrees. That's also a conversation about technical skills. So my doctorate is actually in. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me explain. My doctorate is actually in policy analysis of higher education reform, which I make the argument and conclusion that our regular colleges should be in the game of making sure they have people workplace ready for whatever the trending workplace market is, because it always changes. You'll never have one degree that satisfies all eras of history, right? So that is something that I think we definitely should have a discussion about, and it should be part of the cultural reality of higher education. But Rob, you cannot dismiss the fact that money is at the root of the training. If you have the training and you still don't have the money, and you still have governments not regulating this out of control college affordability issue, you still have a problem on your hands.
So wait a minute, but that's the issue here, because you're talking about governments regulating the out of control college affordability issue. The reason that we're in the student loan debt crisis that we're in is because they knew, these institutions and universities know that they were getting that money no matter what. And so now I have to ask you, one of the main policies of the left, and we're talking about policy here, I loathe this idea of student loan debt forgiveness. Number one, I loathe it because, number one, a lot of the conversation around student loan debt forgiveness is being driven by people that have advanced degrees. So now we know that a lot of the student loan debt outside of $100,000 a year, this is carried by people with advanced degrees, people, doctors, lawyers, etc., who are going to make more money to eventually be able to pay off those degrees. So there's this idea that the student loan debt crisis is something that affects the working class. That is not true. Literally less than, I think, 20% of Americans actually go to college. So you have people on the left, people on your side of the aisle, pushing policies that are talking about student loan debt forgiveness. They're also talking about quote unquote free. When you guys talk a lot about free everything. You just said before that this is all your taxpayer dollars, so there's no such thing as free. So they're talking about free college and all that stuff. And then I want to ask you another question. Do you think that this stuff benefits Black Americans? Because it seems to me, and a big part of the reason why a lot of African Americans have tended to become more conservative and more Republican is the border crisis issue, is the illegal immigration issue, where now African Americans that were foundational to the building of this country are being asked to step aside. The legal immigrants can be taken care of. And we are also fighting, we're also
wait, MOP, can you stop there?
In these communities that you speak about with illegal immigrants.
Good.
No, see, that's the argument we hear all the time in this space.
It is.
First of all, he shifted the argument from away from student loans to immigrants. It's like, dude, how did you go and move your way out of that? Because first of all,
that's the whole conversation, though.
Yeah, that, and when you look at student loans, it's going to disproportionately affect Black people. And I don't know where he's getting the number. Only 20% of people go to college. That's fundamentally false as well. I want to say the average person who graduates from college has like $30K in student loan debt.
Correct.
And then on top of that, when he goes into the immigrants piece, I'm like, dude, how are Black, like you said before, how are Black people in a position where people who are coming from another country, don't have the education, are going to be behind even the American standard of education, don't know the language, don't have any social ties? How are you in direct competition with those people?
Yeah, well, he's about to answer that question, because you have to understand that the person on the right, which is literally on the right, they always try to move their way out of conversations, and they don't like factual information. And none of these people never live in red areas of red states. They live in blue areas of red or blue states. So they know they want to be around stuff that's actually invested in and all that kind of stuff. So
they just don't want to have to pay for it. That's the thing. They want to be around the stuff that's invested in it and not have to pay for it. And then when you talk about someone like him, he knows full well he wants to be around something that's inclusive as well. He knows full well I'm not moving to these deep red states where they got a problem with homosexuality, and then I'm Black too. Come on, dude.
Yeah. So I'm going to continue to keep playing. I mean, LA Divine, I'm willing to talk to you about that, but don't talk about tax policy. And you can bring up very specific policies outside of taxes, because if they're one of the largest economies in the United States, they're going to have a hell of a lot of taxation to pay for all that stuff within the state. So,
not to mention, I believe close to half the millionaires in America live in California.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep playing this now.
Immigrants, and when you talk
let's talk about that, brother. We only got a few minutes because of the time code that you set for us. So let me first correct you on your numbers. It's not 20%; it's actually 40%. Closer to 40% of
40%
Americans.
of Americans go to college. That's not
40% of Americans, sir. 40% of Americans, sir. 40% of Americans have either a bachelor's degree or some college.
That is not correct.
Okay.
Oh, so
tell me where you're citing. Tell me where you're citing your numbers.
About people.
Please tell me. No, sir. Sir, tell me where you're citing your numbers. I'll tell you why I'm citing mine.
I cited my numbers from Manhattan Institute. That's where I got my numbers from.
I cited my numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau. Sir, I cited my numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau educational attainment data. Let's see if you can see that.
Okay. So you said some college. Okay.
Can you see that?
That's great.
All right. So that's
glad that you knew. I'm glad that you know exactly what you were going to talk about so that you get. Like,
no, brother, you brought it up. I didn't bring up that.
Shifted away from it again. He's trying to now say I didn't bring this up. He brought up the student loan thing.
Yes. So he pulled up the exact statistics. And he kept saying no, no, no. Then he showed him exactly where he got it from. He just pulled something out of his ass, and now he got busted. And look at the big smile on his
face. Yeah, that's what you deal with when you deal with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, Manosphere guys. Yeah, total Manosphere argument tactics.
But that's what they
not invested in the process, but want to critique it.
No, but that's what they rely on. They rely on, hey, I'm talking to an audience that hopefully I sound good, sound like I know what I'm talking about, and they haven't done any study. And then when they run into people who are actually educated, know this stuff, start pulling out sources, then they realize, oh, wow, I got busted.
Yeah, that's what it is. So we're going to keep going here.
You brought that up. I'm just well prepared.
You said a bachelor's degree or some college. I get it.
Correct. That's what I said.
Because I was saying when I gave my numbers, I was saying people that actually finished college. And when you talk about the student loan,
no, that's not what you said initially. I got the tape. That's not what you said initially. Maybe that's what you meant, Rob, but that's not what you said.
Well, that's not.
Let's move on to the other question.
And when you take it back to you're gonna have to let me finish the point,
brother. You asked me a question. One, I corrected a number that you was wrong about. And now I'm answering the question about immigration because you posed it to me. Would you like me to answer the question, or you want to finish out your 2 minutes?
I really wanted to finish out what I was saying before. So I'm talking about students that have actually completed. So we have, if you say 40% of people have some college and graduated, that's great. There's a lot of students that have not completed, right?
Correct.
And those people that have not completed are still
owe college debt.
They still owe college debt.
That's correct.
Right.
So this is not some minute problem as you said, because you see,
I didn't call it a minute
you have some college, that is still a significant amount of money to pay back if you have some college. To your question about undocumented workers in the United States somehow taken away from others, it's amazing to me how when we have this discussion, we always blame the poor people who are brown. These are individuals who are not economically well off. They are trying to.
I never said poor people that are brown. That's the word.
Okay, well, I'm saying that. I'm saying that every time we have a conversation about undocumented workers, you all call them illegals. Every time we have that conversation,
I never called them illegals. I said illegal immigrants.
But people on your side of the political aisle.
No, people on but here's the thing: we're having a conversation between Robert Rashad.
We are, but you also attributed, sir. You also attributed in this conversation what people in the left on my side of the aisle said. That those are your words. So I'm telling you what people on your aisle side of the aisle have said as well. They have called them illegals. Undocumented workers in America have one commonality. 88% of all undocumented workers in the United States of America came here for one reason. What's that reason, Rob?
I don't know. Tell me.
It's employment. They came here because of employment. 88% came here because of employment. Now, here's a question I have for you. Why is it that when we see 600 undocumented workers being arrested at a factory, we don't see the CEOs that hired them being arrested. We don't see the hiring manager being arrested. We don't see human resources being arrested.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, to tell you the truth, that stuff had actually started. The thing about it is, when we don't see those people being arrested, is because policies on the level, when we're talking about policy here, the policy is not to prosecute any of that stuff.
Under the Trump administration, you had 4 years. You mean to tell me that Republican policies are the reason why these individuals got prosecuted?
No, people will be prosecuted because they have E-Verify. E-Verify is something that the left fights against. Is E-Verify? No, I'm serious. Is E-Verify?
That's not true. Right now, you could go to rural Indiana and you'll see a Trump sign with "Si habla español" right below it when it comes to people working on these farms. Right now, you could go outside of Dayton. I went out there a couple days ago. There's a guy who's growing hops for like the local Budweiser plant in Columbus. And you know who we have working out there on this farm? Primarily 100% undocumented people. Right below his Trump sign. So, yeah. And it's like, dude, it's all over Ohio the same way. Most of these dudes, like, okay, like, that's what it is. And so we know under these, we just had a president. I used to run steel for the last president. When he was building hotels, he used nothing but illegal immigrants. And we're not talking about the brown skin one either. We're talking about from the Eastern Bloc of Europe, putting them in hotels 13 to a room and all that kind of nonsense. So it's like these CEOs are not getting prosecuted.
And you won't see it happen.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. The crazy thing is, I've listened to people on the other side of the argument. They're like, hey, if I paid, $5, $7 an hour, the average American ain't trying to come out there. Who's trying to go do that? When you're talking about all these people saying, hey, we want to push people into trades or to college. So where are you going to get this labor force to go do this stuff? Unless you're willing to raise it to like, $15 minimum wage, and then still you're talking about no benefits. So it's like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah. But these things are pretty obvious. But when you have somebody here who argues in bad faith and don't really know the issues, it's really ridiculous. Yeah, and it's like, look, we don't have an illegal immigration problem. We have an illegal employer problem. They go work because they want to go to work. In America, you could just go get a job. There is no economy. So there's no mechanics of things actually working there. There's a mechanics of things actually working here. It's just that here, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, not to mention, actually, when you look at a lot of these cities that are attracting, immigrants, those are some of the better cities. If you got people in the rural like that.
Denver's one of them.
Yeah, who do you think is paying for is helping the housing boom that's going on in Denver?
Yes.
They're
building their own houses. They're building their own houses and they're moving in. They got their own bankers and everything else, dude. Like, dude, they got stuff pretty sold up. They came up in the past 25 years, man.
Yeah. And then I was gonna say too, that's with the only time you really see people in the rural like that is because of things like working at chicken plants or on farms, stuff like that. The rest of the time you see a lot of these people in these big cities.
Yeah. So this is a big business thing.
Not a real thing. Let me give you a statistic so much.
Hold on, Rob.
53% of illegal immigrant households use some form of welfare assistance, right? Okay. So if you have people that are coming over to seek a better life,
now what did you get
in your words? That is literally from, because I literally just did a podcast.
All right, that's fine. Just go to tip. We got it. I will absolutely check it out.
This is from the Center for Immigration Studies. Because I just
Center for Immigration Studies says what?
The Center for Immigration Studies says literally 63% of non-citizen households have access welfare programs. So this is a real thing.
Wait a minute.
And CIS
have access to the, wait a minute. They have access to them, or they have already accessed them?
They have already accessed them.
Okay, and I'm going to look that up. I don't have that data set in front of me, and I don't do like you. I don't try to give numbers I don't know, but I will look it up. Now, before you go, one more question before you go, because you said a lot of things about Black Lives Matter, and I want to at least get you on the record. Because I
what have I said about Black Lives Matter that you found? So why don't I just respond to things that
I can read it to you, brother.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course. Why would I not be well prepared?
Huh?
Why would I not be well prepared?
Look, brother, it's your show. You should be very well prepared. I just wish that I gotten some other topics. But okay, let's go ahead.
The problem is being prepared. That's the problem. Being prepared to talk about the issue that you came to talk about.
Yeah, he's like shaming them like that's a bad thing. I'm like, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. They prey on people who are not well prepared, haven't read the issues, and then I can just run over some stuff and you won't fact check it.
Correct.
And hit some emotional buttons with some talking points.
That's it. 100% it. But I'm gonna keep going. So that way we shouldn't be hearing about these issues again. So you're gonna hear all of these talking points throughout the Manosphere. As soon as we get done here, you're gonna hear all this stuff.
Okay, but it's on the sheet that you have from the production team to talk about Black Lives Matter. I saw it.
So BLM.
So how is that something you're not prepared to talk about, brother?
I'm prepared to talk about Black Lives Matter. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So you made some mentions about Black Lives Matter. Basically said that they only show up when they can blame the police and things like that.
Is that what I said? No. Is that what I said? So read me the tweet. I'll respond to the tweet. I will respond to what I have said about Black Lives Matter.
I'm trying to find it.
You're trying to find it? I thought you were very prepared.
Hell, very prepared. I mean, but it's your quote, brother. Okay, here we go.
It's my quote. Look, I say in the tweet a lot.
Criticism of Black Lives Matter Corporate is not an attack on all Black people, on the history of Black America. Black networks will not have me on. You made another mention.
Is this all one tweet? So
no, these are multiple tweets. These are multiple tweets. So let me ask you, have you ever said Black Lives Matter? Have you ever insinuated that Black Lives Matter only show up when the police are involved, when they can blame the police, and they don't really care about all Black lives? Have you ever made any sentiment like that?
I said that. Well, first of all, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, you have to differentiate Black Lives Matter Inc. from Black Lives Matter statement. Black Lives Matter Inc. gets a lot of press and a lot of attention from swooping in, from showing up whenever there's some sort of Black man involved in an altercation with the white police officer. So that is where BLM Inc. gets their energy from. When you look at what happened with with Jacob Blake, BLM swooped in and became all of this main story. It became this huge story. Remember, Kamala Harris said she's proud of Jacob Blake. She said all of this stuff. Then we find out weeks later, Jacob Blake had attacked a police officer with a knife. BLM Inc. disappeared. Kamala Harris never really responded to that. And so this is the BLM Inc. game, all right? And what I see with my own two eyes is that, number one, we have to stop giving BLM Inc. BLM Inc. does not own black people, right? BLM Inc. does not speak for all black people. They don't say they do. Any criticism of BLM Inc. is not inherently racist. But that is where the conversation has led. The conversation has led to where anybody that has any sort of criticism against BLM Inc. is somehow. So you have to be terrified to poke holes in what these stories. These stories have a lot of holes in them. The George Floyd issue had a lot of holes in them. Jacob Blake, I mean, God, you can really go on and on and on. And what irritates me about
George Floyd's situation had no holes in it. They presented the case, and it's like, this is what happens, dude. Like, and that's what happens. You know, they just talk, no points. The other guy on the left, he has to give facts. He's citing the stuff he's actually talking about. He's bringing up things he actually and the dude on the right has nothing but style points.
Did he do the just because argument last? Just because?
No, he's about to get to all the sentiments that you're going to see in here.
Hey, bro, we talked about having that show too, right? Where we have this bingo list of all the little quips and argumented little, the just because, so what you're saying is, and then completely bastardize everything a motherfucker just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the little sarcastic remarks about, oh, I see that you're well studied. You got your notes there. You're well prepared. Damn straight, you're supposed to be well prepared. You're supposed to have those receipts. So he says, when you talk your bullshit talking point, boom, let me tell you something. It's like this, it's like this, it's like that. I got the documentation. You want to read it?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Like, you're not supposed to be prepared for what you're talking about because like in these right-wing circles, they just let these black people talk. They don't hold them to any type of standards. You're there to just simply agree with the narrative. Once you get out of that space and go somewhere else, you actually have to bring other things to the table. You have to bring statistics to the table. And he's not prepared to have that type of conversation. All right, Jay Sean, man, have a nice day.
Their whole point, brother, is not to really have a conversation. Their whole point is to shut black people up for asking for any policy for their tax dollars. That's why there's this whole notion of do for yourself. Don't ask me for shit, nigga. Don't ask me shit. You don't get shit. But then at the same token, they'll say something like, well, what have the Democrats done for you? Well, I mean, you want me to come over here to you, so you ain't got to do shit. Fuck. I don't understand. As long as you keep talking about, don't talk about white shit. We need you clean-shaven Negroes with no facial hair. All right? We need you niggas to go out and word salad and shut black people the fuck up. That's it. If you're talking about holding this system accountable, or if you're talking about policy that's going to help financially benefit the black community, we don't want to hear all that shit. What we need you to do is tell black people to stop bringing up racism, stop talking these inconvenient truths. It's your fault, niggas. You enslaved yourselves. You Jim Crow'd yourselves. You rode on them water fountains. It's your fault, niggas. Now shut the fuck up and vote for me and don't ask for shit and then shut the fuck up.
I like to go back to that Mexican exploitation thing when, when the Republicans or Democrats talk about the illegal alien problem from south of the border. I've seen so many documentaries and read about how these Mexicans were exploited. Their living spaces were deplorable. Okay, they didn't have toilets. They didn't have hot, cold running water in the shacks they lived in, and the only reason why they were there is to keep the expenses, the costs of taking care of vineyards and orchards and gardens and clean up the cow shit behind cows for milk cow after the cows are being milked, to keep that shit going and pay the lowest salaries possible.
Correct. I mean,
that's what that shit was about.
Yeah, because I watched this documentary 2 months ago about how they were getting these people from Guatemala, and they were having them go to a plant in like rural Ohio, and they was explaining how it said that they got $600 a week for doing the actual work, and they actually lived in like 13 to like a simple trailer on site. Those were their living conditions.
Yeah.
And it took them, I think, 7 years of repeated complaints to actually bring the people in. And you even had like the state police telling people with cameras that they have to get out of the area, even though they were clearly on public property. The people who was actually filming the actual documentary. So now the state police didn't go over there and shut them down. The state police told the people to go over there and stop them. It's crazy.
I saw a documentary from Laredo, Texas, right? A border town, right? In Texas, right? Now, what the deal was this, okay? A white dude got out of his pickup truck. He said, I'll take 10 of you. and I'll pay you $30 for the day. Those you want to work, jump on the back of the truck. Those who can't accept those terms, well, hey, stand behind. You should have seen these Mexican men jump on the back of that truck to make that money so they can go back across the border at the end of the day, right, when the sun done gone down, so they can buy food for their families.
Man, I'm gonna tell you a true story right here in Texas, conservative Texas, bro, right here in Dallas. They got like this illegal immigration kind of spot, and they got signs for it. Matter of fact, it's right outside this vocational center, right in North Dallas. If anybody know in fucking North Dallas near Plano, they'll know what I'm talking about. And it's right outside of this vocational center. There's this spot where motherfuckers pop up in the trucks in the morning to go get them some workers. And there's signs, hey, illegal niggas, stand right here to go get picked up. You mean like these motherfuckers off.
Yeah. It's same with the Home Depot in like Aurora, Colorado, over there on Mississippi and 225, right there. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and you got the people like lined up in a circle. You want people to do drywall, people to do construction cleanup, all that kind of stuff. And you know what you see over there? Nothing but contractors. And I'm talking about, signing these people in on base and all this kind of stuff. So it's like this. You have an illegal employer problem.
The same niggas hollering about illegal immigrants is driving trucks to go pick these niggas up to save some money.
Yes. Like I said, you think these farmers are actually out there doing all this work? No, like the majority of these farmers went under because they didn't have illegal immigrant labor to help them run their farm. They didn't even know how to run the equipment.
Nothing has changed in slavery, really. Those people are sharecropping. Those people were not doing the work then, and they're not trying to do it now. They're trying to find someone else to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Boomer Sooner. Real quick, Boomer Sooner. It's over there at the train station, over there by Parker, where you get on the train to go downtown or whatever. It's over there by the driver's license and all that shit on the other side of 75.
So it's like, listen, if you start locking up CEOs of companies and HR managers, if they're even caught with illegal immigration workers at their company, guess what? You won't have illegal immigration, period. You won't have it. You won't have it. So, I mean, people complain, like, look, me personally, if you come to this country to work for somebody, I want your ass to stay, period.
Right.
If you work for somebody here,
we all have to fucking wheel spin.
Yeah. So it's like, look, I want you to pay taxes. I mean, because the pay under the table, we don't get no taxation on that. I mean, you only get taxed on the stuff that they actually buy and stuff. So those workers don't even have any type of protections under these type of people. This is why I'm against illegal immigration. But here's the other thing. The business cycle isn't going to stop, period. If there are no people who are skilled to do a job, they're going to find a way around doing it. Now, if you want to create a system to where we're actually training people, so you have to fix both sides of this equation, not one side or the other, because it just don't work that way.
But the difference is, brother, we're reasonable people. We're really approaching it from a rational conversation. The other side is approaching it from a aspect of, I just don't like black people or brown people. Really. So, and then they politicize it. I mean, listen, you guys have heard me pick up. I'm very good at listening and understanding people's fucking motivations. All right. And when you hear them speak, they don't speak in a fact. They speak in a hatred type of tone. They're not speaking in a, hey, we just want our country. No, they're speaking of these motherfucking animals and wetbacks and all this fucking vitriolic shit.
Oh, I'm sure you hear a bunch of that down in Texas.
But see, at the same time, they don't want to give Pell Grants and partial scholarships for example, black men to study and train in stem cell and in technical trade skills that are needed right now. That's what's happening. That's what the present is, and that's what the future is going to be. Now, if you want to talk about putting brothers in colleges and university, have them study that. So when they get out, they can get a job paying them a decent salary.
Correct.
Yeah,
here's the other thing. Hold on a second, Rashad. Here's the other thing. They have to understand that free technical training, the government's going to get a return on investment on that back through
Indeed.
Increased wages and increased taxation and everything that this person buys with it. And it's like, dude, like me, I'm for whatever skills and abilities that need to be actually filled. I want significant amount off of free college for those type of things. I'm not trying to help people get psychology degrees and all this nonsense. No. I want the people here to get no matter who it is, here in the United States.
Apprenticeship programs.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. On top of that too, I was
on the job training programs with job placement assistance. That's what you need.
Can I ask you a question?
Wait, hold on a second. Go ahead, Renaissance.
No, I was going to say too, Alabama, actually, there's a Vox documentary on this as well. They actually put in a HR bill, this is probably about 8 years ago, that basically clamped down on all the immigrants, made it so hard for them to be there. So they all fled the state, went somewhere else. And then you literally had farmers and people in these chicken houses who literally were begging for people because they couldn't find anyone to work it. And you literally had fruits and vegetables, things like that, basically spoiling in the fields. And they resorted to even trying to bring back prison labor to go and pick it, and it still didn't work. It cost the economy like $2 billion. It's like, if you're genuinely serious about like improving your country, you'll understand like, hey, the system needs to be revised, but it's not some, hey, go kick everybody out the country, because that's going to have negative effects. But like Silence said, these people are speaking from a place of hatred.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you
they don't want to compensate them right. You know, like that's what I don't get. You know, they want to use the labor, then they don't want to treat them right or give them any type of working wages. Or, like, nah, man, like, bro, listen, if you can't run your business without skill, without trying to do that type of stuff, then, dude, you just don't deserve to be in business. But the same people are complaining about immigration are the same people who benefit from immigration. It's nuts.
But you know why? They're not capitalists, man. They pretend to be, but they're not.
They're really socialist, to be honest.
Yes, capitalism is about supply and demand and paying people to make those products available to the people who want to buy them, and you keep your business going that way. But they don't want to do that.
See, here's the way I see it. Like, if I don't like your black asses, why would I want to help you get money so you can move out here to the suburbs next to me when I've worked so hard to keep your black asses away from me? Why would I want you and your little Tyrones next to my little Beckys? I mean, because if I give you all of these opportunities, then that would then ultimately mean more of you niggas could afford to live next to me. Why the fuck would I want to do that?
Competition. That's what it is, and they don't want that.
I mean, we have all of these complicated arguments. No, people's motivations are very simple at their base fucking core. The way people make decisions are not these complicated, rational shit that they say it is. I don't like you niggas, i.e., we gonna follow. Listen, if this was an all Caucasian country, none of these would be conversation. You would have UBI, you'd have free fucking healthcare, you'd have all of this shit. We don't want you niggas to have shit. This is why when you come over here, we want you to shut the fuck up and don't ask for shit. And then we're always gonna avoid the very fucking questions that we're gonna pretend we don't understand the very questions that are gonna tie this all together. So we're gonna do all this nigga dancing and nigga explaining and 1,000-word essays to convolute all this bullshit.
A permanent underclass. That's what they want. They say, okay, well, if you don't do things our way, well, you see them niggas over there? You see how they living? You want to live like that?
Yeah, so
that's what it is, man. You know, I mean, I agree with you.
This is why Hitler said the United States will fall if they do not release the crown jewels. It is inevitable. They just did a study, and I think the cost to maintain this bullshit, because I don't like you niggas, is something to the tune of $2 trillion a year. That would be in a boost the economy if I treated you niggas right. So we're smart because we're white people, right? And we got all these scientists and NASA. So we've done all these numbers, right? So we know that this treating niggas wrong is costing us $2 trillion. But we would rather pay $2 trillion to keep you niggas in the ghetto and shutting the fuck up.
Well, now think about this. Okay, I'm not about insurrection and sedition and all that shit. But could you imagine if all the black U.S. military servicemen were to mutiny? Just said, "Hey, listen, be done. We ain't doing this." You know what a ruckus that would cause?
Such ruckus, my brother.
You know, and the thing about it is, you know, when they would be asked, "Why are you doing this?" Because you're exploiting us. You got us in a permanent underclass, yet you want us to voluntarily make ourselves expendable to defend this country? Hey, fuck you, assholes.
I mean, they run your very cities. Think about it. They did a nice study that this shit has been shown. Look it up. Google it. But so most black crime and all that shit is bullshit. All this police shit, like for example, most black people actually come into contact with police during fucking traffic stops, like license plate tags, you know, and you know, shit like that. And then because they basically try to, like, you know, create these loopholes that get you in from a traffic stop, right? So they do this to create revenue for the city.
That's right.
Right? So they're fucking, basically it's a fucking black tax, if you will. Go around, fuck with these niggas, shake their fucking pockets out so we can fix these potholes. I mean, you really have a fucking civil rights fucking case. You probably, you could go to the UN with this shit, because you're really just taking the population. I bet you, you know, as the DOJ is doing, if they're really legitimate, as if they don't know all this shit already, which is fucking. But
what about the too?
When they do a fucking survey of all of these goddamn police departments, they would uncover rampant fucking discrimination.
Yeah,
I mean,
against the police itself, like listen, man, like every police department has its own internal level of politics, and police officers don't have whistleblower protection. So any complaint against the police has to go to and through the police itself. There's no outside organization that gets involved with things that are internally going on inside of a police department. And this is how constitutional abuses just keep stacking up until people are just straight out murking people. Because there is no...
How does it make fucking sense the same people who are on the side of liberty and you better pry this gun from my cold damn hands, how are you then on the same side as police? So how are you protecting yourself from the fucking same state that you're fucking standing on the same line? I don't fucking understand how that works.
All right.
Maybe it's fucking cush right now, but I don't understand how that works.
Me neither. All right. So let me play the rest of this, because this right here is going to be good. Listen, if you're talking about Black Lives Matter and not your own particular power structure yourself, you're making yourself look pretty weak. But he's going to just dismantle this guy even on these points right here.
The way our community, the Black community, reacts to Black Lives Matter, and the way that they push the narrative is that facts don't even matter. You're a facts and data guy, right? So when it comes to BLM and when it comes to this idea that Black people are somehow hunted, in the words of LeBron James, by white police officers all across the country, this is taken as fact, and somehow all of these facts and data, the facts and data that I do like so much, somehow disappeared. So you wouldn't know that, for example, there were only 15, again from the Manhattan Institute, there were 15 unarmed Black men that were killed there were 15 Black men, period, that were killed in police shootings, altercations in 2019. You would think that there is some major epidemic. Now, do I agree that there is a conversation
Don't you hear the same debate and talking point style in the Manosphere? Of course you do.
That needs to be had in terms of police brutality, in terms of some of the ways in which they go do things. Absolutely. But to claim that there is some massive epidemic of white police officers literally chasing down and killing black men on the street just because they're racist or agents of white supremacy or whatever the leftist talking points are nowadays, that's not based in facts. So the left, so you guys, Democrats, you love facts and statistics. You bombard me.
Well, let me drop some facts on you, Rob. You're kind of bloviating now, filibustering. So let me drop some facts on you. Individuals who are unarmed should not be killed by the police if the cop's life is not in danger. That's period. And I know we make a big deal about it. Say that again.
So my question to you is, have you ever...
Oh, wait a minute. I'm answering, brother.
So have you ever been a cop? What does that have to do with them being professional at work? So unless you're a police officer, you can only think that the other case is true whenever they feel comfortable.
No.
No.
Unless you're a doctor, you can't dare criticize a doctor. You can't say, hey, he messed up or this is malpractice because you've never been a doctor.
These niggas are hilarious.
Let me keep going with this. Because like I said, you're going to hear all the same talking points in the sphere, and they think they're slick, but all you got to do is turn on conservative talk radio. Everybody says the same thing. That's the secret. Everybody says the same thing.
I wanted
to ask you.
You don't get to ask me right now. I get to respond to you, and then you can ask me something. But I'm going to respond to what you said first. Black Lives Matter is a grassroots advocacy movement. And yes, there is a grassroots advocacy organization. The reality is they bring attention and awareness to issues that are systemic and connected to prejudicial treatment and racism in this country. Now hold on, brother. Say that again.
It's word two.
Okay. And for some to suggest that Black Lives Matter should be in the business of doing anything else, that's like saying the United Negro College Fund should be in the business of giving scholarships to poor white children. There are needs out there outside of what Black Lives Matter addresses, but they address specific needs, specific problems as it relates to members of the Black community in relationship to police misconduct.
And so
now,
since Black Lives Matter has been around,
you see the Manosphere debate tactic? Yep. Can't even answer the question or respond to what the actual point is, and just talk your way through into another point.
Rob Smith. Rob Smith. Hold on, Rob Smith. I will also say this, brother, because there seems to be a real disconnect because people on your side and you specifically, you try to minimize what happens to unarmed Black people and brown people.
No, I don't.
By saying, it's not even that. It's not even that many. It's not even that many. Okay, but I said it seems like you try by saying that. Do we put a lot of emphasis on murder? Rob Smith, do we put a lot of emphasis on murder? Do we?
No. So since you go,
I'm saying in this country, do we put a lot of emphasis on murder?
I want to ask you. So you go back. So
you want to answer that
question? Back to what you said. Well, I want to actually ask you. But you know what? I think we're good.
Are you running? Come on, Rob. Come on, brother.
So are you going to answer my question?
Of course I am.
I don't run with nothing. So my question to you is, you said before you went into all that stuff, since what you said before is that no police officer should be killing anybody if their life is not in danger. Have you ever policed?
No, I'm not.
Have you ever been in a situation in which somebody else has threatened your life? Have you ever been in that situation?
Of course I have. I'm from Glenwood Road, man. I was a gangbanger. Of course I have.
Okay, so you've never policed. So you're an ex-leader, but you've also never policed. So now you can say that. So now you can step outside of that process and say that no police officer should ever be killing anybody if their life wasn't in danger. Let me ask you this, because I'll tell you somebody, and I'll tell you
that's common sense. Are you
a former cop? I'm not a former cop. I am.
Well, wait a minute. If you're not a former cop,
but I'm a
how do you get to talk about it? No, brother, if you're not a former cop, no. If you're not a cop,
no, it doesn't matter. I have been in
You see how David Monroe in his way through this entire discussion?
Did you hear that? Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter
He
that
said
you were a police officer, but you're going to ask me questions like you got some receipts. You got no data there. You're not reading any data, but you say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, and it's like he set up a standard that doesn't even apply to him either.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Guess what? I would never hold somebody to the level of if they were a cop, even though I was one. But here's what I also know. Across the board, if it's any other job, yeah, you got to be professional at work.
That's right.
Yeah, Eric Ingram. Aren't you the one? Aren't you the brother that's in Finland?
Yes,
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, do y'all police even carry guns?
No, yeah, our police carry guns. Yeah, they do. They do.
But it's unheard of for them to kill a civilian, I bet.
Damn near unheard of. Yeah, I mean, they if anything, the cops here, they really do try to de-escalate the situation.
How many black people over there?
How many black people are here?
Yeah.
Oh wow, man, that's hard to even give an estimate. There's quite a few of us, but I mean, we're Black American males.
I'm assuming not a lot.
And Africans over here. No, I mean, in comparison to the population, no, we're small enough here.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Yes, that's 50.
But for me, for example, okay, I'm not afraid of any cop here. My head ain't on a swivel, when I see police officers, and in a police vehicle or walking the streets in the center of Helsinki. That type of problem I've never had, to be frank with you. And I've been living here for damn near 30 years.
Yes, because they have an unthreatening amount of population of black people that they feel like they need to control. See, in America, we have a threatening amount of black people that needs to be subjugated. And some of you niggas can move out here to the suburbs, but we need to keep a certain nigga, you understand what I'm saying? So if you
I get what you're saying.
People, we can leave all you niggas alone. But, in a country full of 15 to 20% black people, if we keep our foot off your neck for 1 second, you got the ability to take all this shit over. So we need to keep our foot on your neck. So that's why
I say it's competition. It's competition in the capitalist system.
All right, let me play the rest of this. It ain't that much left, or I hope it is.
That situations overseas where my life was pretty dangerous, and I had to make a split-second decision, right?
What's the cop that ruled?
Okay.
It's easy to.
I hate all military people, and I'm ex-military myself, who try to play this dumbass game of that they're so superior to you because they was in a combat situation or anything else, so that way they can make BS talking points without regard to actual professionalism. He was in the military. He know what the UCMJ is. He knows damn well that you ain't out there just running your mouth and just shooting your gun off. Trust me, there ain't none of these issues that happen on any military installation. You pull your gun out for one reason. Yeah, listen, if you pull your gun out for a reason that it ain't supposed to be pulled out, your ass is going to the psychiatrist and you're going to get on some pills. That's what's going to happen. They're going to reevaluate your ass. They're going to take your weapon away.
Or your ass is going to court-martial.
That's what I'm saying. If you do it way too many times, and that's what people that are even getting killed. So he's trying to make it look like
just have an accidental discharge.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, listen, man. You get more time for an accidental discharge than you do actually killing somebody.
Yeah. You do that shit. That shit ain't no laughing matter. That's serious business. Accidental discharge.
Yeah, but people in the military and people who are in the right in the military, they do this type of bullshit a lot, to where they try to weaponize their military service against people who haven't served. And this is one of the dishonest ways that they do it. Just like that. What's going on, Game Changer? Thanks for the final super sticker. Justin Marks. I really don't even care about Black Lives Matter, but it's just that the people talk about it because it's a cultural problem. Like they're fighting against an issue, and it's easy to organize people against that cultural issue. Hey, you don't want Black Lives Matter to exist? You don't want Benjamin Crump? You don't want to see Al Sharpton speaking at funerals? Hey, why don't you be professional at work and you'll never see him?
But
ever.
the only reason they have a problem with those characters is because the right does. Because that's when you talk to people on the right and you start talking about quote unquote black leaders, the first people they jump to is Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
And then now you see a more Crump up there.
Yeah, and it's like, look, you want these people to disappear? Have the people who are abusing the stuff that they're abusing be more professional at work, and you'll never see them. That's how you get rid of them.
That's
get rid of them.
because they have no audience then.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If you hate them as much as I hate looking at them, you'll get your people straight, so that way you'll never see them. But they love those people, and they love the way things are. And they don't want things to change. They just want you to shut up and be okay with things happening and don't complain about it. So let me keep playing this.
I'm asking you, Rob, what's your comment?
And I'm tired of answering those questions. I'm going to tell you right now what my stance is on this.
You're tired of answering the question. I've answered every question you threw at me.
No, you haven't, actually.
Yes, I have.
Haven't just gone on. No,
you asked me, was I ever a cop? The answer is no. I've never been a police officer.
And the answer is no. Okay. And so what I'm trying to say, so the statement I'm trying to make is that, so you've never been a police officer. So what gives you the latitude to constitute what is or isn't life-threatening for a police officer in that situation?
I'm glad you asked that question. Great question, Bob. Right now in the United States, we use what's called a subjective standard in the law. That means that even if your belief is unreasonable as a cop, that your life was in danger, that the standard to justify you killing somebody is subjective to your own personal belief. Here's where the problem is, Rob. And I think you would agree with me if you think about this. In almost every other rendering of the law, you must have what's called an objective belief that something bad happened. What that means is that a reasonable person in that same situation would have reasonably believed that their life was in danger as well. But when it comes to police officers, based on the Supreme Court ruling and not the law, when it comes to cops, they get to make the assessment based on a subjective standard of their own personal belief, which is impossible almost to overcome in a court of law, because it's all based on the Supreme Court ruling predicated on whatever was in the officer's mind. You don't get that benefit, Rob. I don't get that benefit. If I go out and kill somebody, or if you go out and kill somebody today, and you say, oh my God, I thought my life was in danger, that won't cut it in the court of law, because you have what's called an objective standard, meaning a reasonable person in that same situation would have reasonably made the same decision. All I'm saying is that cops need to move out of a subjective standard and an objective standard like all of us. That's my only plea. That's my only push for police officers.
And what I would say to that, what I would say to that is that all of us don't have to make those police decisions every day. But I wanted to ask you about BLM because I know we have to wrap up.
Just roll on right at. Look how you just roll on.
Yeah, he did. He had no answer for it.
I'll see.
Yeah, I mean, but this is what happens when people are not invested in the topics that they're actually talking about. You talk about something that's reasonable, and they just roll right out of it into something else.
Yeah. Because what people who actually who claim to be against tyranny wouldn't find that reasonable, that you don't basically want fucking police officers to just be immune to the fucking, like, because that's like what you have your guns to fight against. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
you know, smaller government people and all, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a different thing if we lived in a police state where the civilians were not allowed to have firearms. You know, that's a different thing altogether. But such is not the case, and we know that the Constitution, when it talks about the right to bear arms, they talked about militia groups, to protect what? Whole states of people, the women and the children in particular, right?
Correct. And it's like they don't understand Senate structure. No one cared about your ability to own a firearm. They was talking about the protection of the state.
Yeah.
I mean, because you think those militias are really out here trying to protect everybody's interest to include the state? Hell no.
No, hell no, they're not. Of course not. That's why you got professional military forces now to do that. I mean,
yeah, and it's like we have a state militia. It's called the National Guard.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And every state's got one, got a unit.
And guess what they have, MOT? They have guns.
That's right.
Yes, they do. And guess who controls them? The governor of the state.
What?
That's right.
You don't say.
Yeah. And, okay, so now if you didn't have an actual standing National Guard, then you would need these militias. But still the militia is still going to work for the state because they're working on the behalf of the state.
But yes, but see, now we have roads and cell phones and air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me finish this up.
Do you think that they have been very successful at achieving? What policy has what policy has BLM done? Yeah. What policy has South America? I'm curious.
One, reprioritizing $7.7 million in the budget of Minneapolis to go toward addressing underlying issues that lead to criminality, such as drug, alcohol addiction, mental health disorders, as well as making sure that there are policies in place to help communities fight systemic racism and prejudice by way of training, yes, by way of education, and also by way of seminar training from those local police departments. If you look at what happened in Minneapolis, they defunded or reprioritized $7.7 million to address those.
Now he's answering this question.
Yeah.
Now you're going to see the dude on the right, David Monroe, his way back into the answer that he's now giving because he's giving factual information.
Not the
Watch
David Monroe.
Yeah. So watch himself, hood serve himself right into the conversation. Watch this.
They did that. What happened when they did that?
Well, they just did it, brother.
When they defunded the police.
They just did it. Give them some time to work, brother.
No, but what happened when they did it? When Minneapolis, and I know about me.
As you can see, he just gave him a straight answer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still trying to talk his way through the question as if the question haven't been answered.
Minneapolis defunded the police. The crime went up to such a level that now they are scrambling to get emergency funding.
Why did it go up?
Remember anything?
Why did it go up?
Why did it go up? They done.
Yeah.
Why did it go up?
No, Rob, go ahead. Why did it go up?
Defunded the police.
No, correct. It didn't go up. No. That's not why it went up. So let me tell you why the crime went up. It didn't happen in Atlanta. It happened in New York. It happened in a lot of places. They didn't fire not one cop. I want you to remember this. Not one police officer was let go. As a matter of fact, they hired more cops. What you had are cops calling in with the blue flu, meaning they were calling in saying that they couldn't work that day, or they were coming to work.
Now, what are the statistics for that?
See how he hood served his way back into the conversation? You give an answer, and he's still inserting shit into the conversation that has nothing to do with the question or the answer.
And by the way, that type of thing that those cops did, they should have been immediately terminated.
Yeah, like listen, if that was like on the spot consequences for that type of behavior, they'd be gone. But see, they have a union. This is why you have to break the actual contract with the police and hire them all back so that way they work under the state's discretion, not the union's discretion. This is why they get away with this type of stuff. And once you have all this money that goes towards all these weaponry and vests and MRAPs and all this kind of stuff, yeah, that money can be reprioritized for other things. They don't get rid of police, by the way, because here's the thing. What's causing these actual issues is unprofessional police behavior. There is no amount of equipment that's going to make you be more professional at work if you're not going to act professional while you're at work.
That's right. That's all. It's all about work ethic. It's all about work ethic and how you program to use your work ethic in the field of profession that you're in, that you're working in. You got to know how that works, and you've got. I mean, as a cop, you have to be somewhat steely, somewhat stoic, because your job is high stress, but your job is also high priority. You know that when you go into the academy. So I think all cadets that go into the police academies throughout the United States, they need to go through a psychiatric evaluation before they even go to the police academy site.
Well, if we were interested in the truth, the real truth is motherfuckers just watch too many movies, because the real truth is being a cop statistically is actually one of the safest jobs. But see, we watch so many fucking movies and so much propaganda. But if you actually think of how many cops are actually shot, it's a very safe fucking job. And not only that, you have pretty much total communal respect and like they make it out to this us versus them culture. And so it makes it seem like
I got a small pushback on that. Depends on where you policing. Depends on where you going. Okay.
Well, it always depends. This is why it's the statistical averages. Yes, if you go to fucking Baghdad, fucking Michigan, sure, but statistically, to be a police overall, yeah, there are some bad areas, but those cops are in the minority. The vast majority of police are just fucking with people because of their fucking tags on the back of their car.
But Silent, here's the other thing too. Even in those bad areas, those people are scared of police as well.
Exactly. Niggas ain't going out there busting off at the police. Niggas trying to do everything they can to stay away from fucking police. If you see a police 3 cars behind you, you trying to make a right turn. Niggas is not trying to be in police's face. Even when we're innocent, we're nervous. We go to the gas station, we see the police, you do the little nervous, hey, don't look at me in the face. Don't say shit to me. Don't find let me get out of this gas station. We are not fucking
I don't know how many times I heard when I lived in Harlem and I was in the hood in Brooklyn in Brownsville, for example, how many times I heard 5-0 down, 5-0 down, yo, scrabble, 5-0 down. They like you said, Solomon, yeah, they are afraid of coming in contact with police. Even the gangbangers are.
Yeah, all right.
Niggas driving down the street in a car, you see the cops in the rear view, your damn stomach go through your throat every time. Come on, man.
Yeah. Let me keep going.
You've been on facts.
Wait, Rob, they were coming to work and not doing their job. You have admitted testimony from cops verifying that information. The problem I have with people like you is that you won't criticize those deadbeat cops who showed up for work and didn't do their jobs and left citizens.
But you're not giving me any facts and statistics. And here's the thing: the reason why the BLM stuff doesn't jive, and it's a circular logic that you're using here, right? So number one, the BLM Inc. They say that the cops are bad, cops are evil, cops are racist.
No, they say bad cops are bad.
From the DPL. Okay, they say all cops are bad.
No, they don't.
Realize.
No, they don't.
So you don't. So do you think? So do you not think that BLM Inc. and all of that rhetoric is responsible for an increase in we'll just say the odd hatred of cops from African Americans, from people on the street? No, you don't think that they're not responsible.
There's a reason why you see cops being prosecuted today. There's a reason why you see policies being changed today. And they're also the reason why you see.
I'll just ask the question, and then when you don't answer the way I want, I'll just.
This is not,
brother. It's facts, my brother. Rob, I know you got to go.
But you're not giving me any facts because
Oh wow! What you got that paper there for? What do you think you held that paper up there for?
Rob,
what do you think? One sheet of paper?
You know what I know.
Rob, you've gone so far off the rail. You can't even have a regular conversation. You know and I know.
The look on these niggas' faces, they just know they're full of shit too, bro. It's funny.
But I believe the black chiefs, the black law enforcement executives, NOBLE, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, who released statements saying that cops are calling in with the blue flu, that they're not responding to calls. I believe the mayors of these cities when they say it, because they're the ones who actually have to look at what's happening with command staff. So I believe them
Mayors,
when they say this is happening.
cities, like the mayors that are getting sort of harassed by all these BLM activists, like those kinds of things.
Let's just roll on past that again. Let's just keep riding.
But it's not a distraction point.
You want to
facts and
this is happening. If you want to deny that, that's fine. That's on you, brother. I'm not denying the truth. The truth is these
Look at the
things
cool
are
smile right there. Look at the cool smile.
The truth is, when it's convenient for you, you've got all the facts together, and when it's not convenient for you, you can't find it.
But that is a fact. That is a fact. It may not be qualified as a statistic, but it's a fact that you can check out with press releases from Noble, press releases from other mayors and cities around the country.
These organizations, press releases always tell the truth on where you believe in every press
Well,
release.
I believe in the individuals who signed that press release. It's not about mode or method, Rob. It's about the person behind it. And when you have an individual that you believe in putting their signature on the statement, you tend to believe the statement. And that's where I'm at. You believe statements that other people have made because you believe in that person. So I'm telling you, I believe in the executives at Noble. I believe some of these mayors across the country that said this is happening in their city. Rob, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. Okay. That was just getting tiresome. I may need to break after. I may need to. But before I take a break,
Shit is hilarious.
that was kind of fun.
That's how arguments happen in the Manosphere.
That's exactly.
That's exactly how arguments happen in the Manosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see why they have to talk about Black Lives Matter the way they have to talk. Me, I don't care. They're a private organization like the NRA, like the CPAC. I don't care about what them people do. Private people donate money to those organizations, and they're gonna do what they do with those organizations. Just go on, check it for you. So if you're mad that these people are buying a house and all this shit, then yes, they should be on their investigation. But if the actual shareholders and the people who actually donated money to the organization ain't mad, why the hell would you be mad?
But they don't have any of that smoke for the NRA and all the abusive funds that Wayne LaPierre, flying on private planes.
They don't have any problem with Charleston Heston standing up and saying he's a lifelong member. He'll be a lifelong member of the NRA. They have a problem with that, but they got a problem with athletes. They got a problem with somebody like LeBron James saying a little something, something. They got a problem with other athletes saying a little something, something. Bounce the ball, run the ball. You ain't got shit to say about politics. What the fuck are you talking about? These people live here. They may live in gated communities because they can afford it, okay? But, some of them, they watch the news too. Some of them keep up with the politics that's going on. Some of them do know something about how their states are governed. You understand what I'm saying? You can't just dismiss them as if they don't know anything simply because they're not lifelong professionals at doing it. This is shit that irks me, man.
Don't let it irk you, player. All this is good
news.
You
know why it irks me? They act as though people don't read and do research and do information on their own, unless they're politicians. You understand what I'm saying? That's what irks me.
Okay, so let me show you a statement, because you're gonna see this, and like I said, none of this stuff is original. It's the same stuff. So I'm gonna play a clip of Laura Ingraham telling LeBron James to shut up and dribble, and then I'm gonna tell you about the actual absurdity of her statement.
All right, we're gonna create a new banner. This is a Jump Doc alert. NBA superstar LeBron James is talking politics again, and this time it's R-rated. Here's his barely intelligible, not to mention ungrammatical take on President Trump and a new ESPN podcast.
The number one job in America, the point of person, is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a fuck about the people.
But wait, there's more gripping insight. ESPN host Carrie Champion asked James and fellow NBA star Kevin Durant about what she described as Trump's racist comments.
I feel like our team as a country is not ran by a great coach. It's not even a surprise when he says something. It's not even surprising. It's like laughable. It's like
it's laughable.
It's laughable and it's scary.
But it's also scary.
Right,
because
right.
I shouldn't be numb to your racist
Right,
comments.
right.
I shouldn't be numb to your behavior.
I'm numb to this commentary. Like, must they run their mouths like that? Unfortunately, a lot of kids and some adults.
Must they run their mouth like that?
Seriously.
I mean, must they run their mouth like that?
In LeBron for kids. This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball.
A slave.
Oh, Ron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you.
And if you're married, your husband's probably playing.
So keep the political commentary to yourself.
You're a slave.
Or as someone once said, shut up and dribble. We'll be right back.
Or get this whip, boy.
Okay. Now, she gets paid $40 million a year for talking about politics on a network that does nothing but politics, trying to tell other people that they don't get to talk about politics with their platform. Like, that's the irony here. She gets to talk about politics. You don't get to talk about politics.
No.
And it's like she's actually on a political show, on a political network, telling other people not to talk about politics.
Right. Mm-hmm. because they have all the conventional wisdom. You see, they have the power to stand behind the status quo. Right. They're the so-called journalistic intelligentsia. Right. They know more than everybody else about politics, as if nobody else reads about it. Nobody does research about it. People don't go out and vote for the city councilman, for the sheriff, and judges and all this type of shit, right? They have no knowledge of this except for them because they're professional journalists and they're reporting on it. You know, and that's the type of shit that burns my ass. You know. But anyway, go on. I'm done ratting.
So that's the video that I wanted to go over. So that way you're going to see a lot of, so when you hear people talk about the left, Black Lives Matter and all this kind of, dude, all the talking points are the same. You just heard them all from one person. They are the same. They're not different.
but look at her reaction when Drew Brees speaks out about the flag.
Yeah, said nothing. They're okay with Drew Brees. They're okay with Brett Favre. Nobody told him to shut up about politics, did they?
Nope.
Nobody told Tom Brady to shut up about politics when he was supporting the president, did they? No one told him to do that.
Nobody told Ted Nugent to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you follow the status quo, that's the way it is, right?
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to make the culture warriors. Yeah, you're not going to be able to talk because we know your playbook. We literally know your playbook. And you have to be able to talk through responses and not bring anything to the table or actually miscite things and then have us correct you and give our own statement while you just sit there with that LGBT dude smile on your face while you're watching us tangle ourselves in circles trying to follow you around like a dog with a pooper scooper. No, man, nobody doing it.
Damn.
I'm not walking around with the green plastic bag, man. I'm not doing that. Not doing that, man. Not doing it. Yep, they sure did, didn't they?
So
the same people talking about cancel culture. The same people.
Since everybody's getting into the animation and trying to get their channels tight, I cannot believe nobody has come up with the Lord Helmet fucking scene from fucking Spaceballs. As soon as these niggas go there, you got to pull out the Lord Helmet. We're going flag.
We got helmet music, man. We literally got helmet
right
music.
past light speed, nigga.
It's like, every time they speak, every time they just helmet their way into the room, and all of a sudden you just hear it. Every time they say some stupid ass shit. Every time. That's the issue that I hear. Every time.
Mm-hmm. See, that's why. But see, that's why I don't like discussing politics, political issues. I don't. I mean, I know politics makes the United States go round, just like it makes the rest of the world go round. But when you got people on, they get on their soapboxes and shit, right? They make it seem as though they put up the front as though they had odds with each other. But then at the end of the day, when it comes to Thanksgiving or the Christmas party, or the annual fundraising party, guess who all sitting together?
Yeah, it's like, dude, listen, these issues are not difficult. They're not. It's like, look, and this is why you can be, listen, these issues are not hard, man. They're not hard at all. But it's clear one side wants to deal with empirical data, and the other side wants to go to empirical data when they can't use talking point, culture points, and then they want to go to the actual culture points when they can't talk about policy. Every time. This is why they got to talk about the left and all this kind of other nonsense. And they make sure that a conversation can't happen. Yes, the right did a lot of cancel culture. They canceled a lot of liberal talk radio in every city. Dude, they did cancel culture through a war.
They canceled 3 white bitches, the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason why, for example, the moral majority is not working, with Falwell, because Falwell got busted. Tammy and what's her husband's name? The Bakers. They got caught up in the scandal. They canceled themselves because of the bullshit they were doing.
Didn't the head white man himself, Pat Robertson, was even saying these fucking white cops are out of goddamn control.
Yeah, I mean,
Pat Robertson. Hold on a second. I need to play his comments because apparently that guy is not right wing enough, and he said that we need more professional police officers.
That nigga said it, boy. That's Mr. White Man right there.
Yeah. Numero uno.
Yeah. Well, he's only Mr. White Man because Billy Graham is no longer alive.
That's Mr. Conservative, Mr. American, yes, sir.
Huh?
I said Pat Robertson is Mr. Conservative, Mr. America, Mr. Yes, sir. Goddamn, he's right wing to the white, right?
But you know what though? Yeah, he is. But put him next to Billy Graham when Billy Graham was alive.
That's a zealot. That's a zealot. This nigga's like a real respected fucking white conservative fucking.
But Billy Graham was highly respected, man. Come on, man. He had influence when he was alive.
Let us actually let Pat Robertson.
Okay, let's go ahead and listen to him. Okay.
They open their eyes to what the public relations are. They've got to stop this stuff.
Yes, that is televangelist Pat Robertson, and even he is now hammering police.
The dude from the 700 Club, who's still alive for some reason.
I'm still alive for some reason.
This nigga's drinking baby's blood, but he know this shit is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, but no, people in the Manosphere got it totally figured out. The only thing you got to do is be perfect and turn every situation into Tamir Rice, John Crawford, and Philando Castile, and everything will be perfect, except for those people died in them situations too. Like, dude, we don't need perfect people. We need just professionals at work.
It's not like we weren't just arguing last summer, and then now the niggas that the white niggas that killed Aubrey are now being charged for federal hate fucking crimes as niggas in the Manosphere try to convince everybody that the shit wasn't about what it was. I mean,
or that voting doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That too, because I'm like, okay, are we getting those federal charges from Bill Barr under the Trump administration?
Oh. I just want to make sure that these people are going to cover those issues like culture warriors. That's all. And you're just seeing it there. one person came with all the information, and one person just wanted to troll and smile their way through a conversation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is the actual. This is what fall for political discourse, and this is why these people are online, politically gaslighting people because they can't talk about shit. And then you got people who bring these whack ass motherfuckers on to say they fucking goofy shit, and it's still happening. Still giving these lunatics a platform.
Commence with your bullshit, sir.
Mm.
See, you can only do this shit on the right. You can't do this shit on the left. You can't do this shit on the. You can't. Nobody would put somebody on who is completely full of shit on. But on the right is tons of room for this type of shit.
And then they do this shit just on the Manosphere, just like they do network TV. Like, you know, like when they'll have like a dude stand up for men, they'll always surround him with 6 fucking bitches and then 1 male feminist. They'll always outnumber him, just like the panels. They'll always only let 1 reasonable motherfucker on there with 6 fucking retards.
Yeah,
to overtalk him and shit.
Yeah, and every time it's about, you know, Bernard Raleigh does this. You know, when you talk about a serious issue and then you invite up, you know, the clowns of war, you know, the Little Big Nate, the Trader MBD and Hood Server, they should be on nobody's panel. Nobody's panel about shit. They've been wrong about every goddamn thing. But this is what you have here. It's like these people don't even try to learn about the issues. They're just trying to get you to stop talking about it. And that's just the way things are. All right, man. So let's be able to get here. You got any last word, Keith?
No, you good, brother.
Got any last words, Eric Ingram?
No, man. I think we done pointed everything else. Everything else. Pointed everything out. Thanks for letting me up. Peace and salute, brothers.
All right, cool.
Hey, peace.
Yeah, we might get to that interview Sunday sometime. So email me so that way we can talk about, you know, your years in Finland. That when you retire from the service, we can actually talk about that. So.
Okay. All right.
All right, cool, man.
All right.
All right, Ransom, man. You got anything else or last word before we get up out of here?
Just that everyone please like and share this video because he pretty much destroyed every talking point of the Manosphere, and I just want to see what these guys' rebuttal is.
Yeah, because there should be a counter argument or a counter stream that shows us how we're wrong. So we could just go to all the Manosphere conservatives, you know, you know, and just have them do the stuff. No, not real conservatives like Lawrence Guy, TBA, or Straight Shooter. We're talking about the clown version of that shit. You know, the culture warriors, dumb shit like that. So. All right, man. I want to thank y'all for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. Thank y'all for coming through and listening, for the time participation that you did. Thanks for the super chat, Justin March. You guys have a really nice day. Peace.